Hello and good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcasting to you from Jerusalem. And in today's top stories, Israel is preparing for an all-out war with Iran and its Shiite Muslim proxies on the northern frontier of the Jewish state as Israeli Defense Minister Lieberman seeks to significantly increase the country's defense budget to confront what he termed as the fragile and volatile situation. Reports indicate that the Iranian proxy Hezbollah has raised its level of alert for an imminent confrontation with Israel, despite the organization's declared assessment that Israel would not launch a war against it in the near future. During an emergency meeting of the Arab League, Arab foreign ministers warned the Islamic Republic of Iran that they would not stand by in the face of Iranian interference in Arab affairs. Israel is prepared for an all-out war with Iran and its Shiite Muslim proxies on the northern frontier of the Jewish state. Israeli Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman said that the IDF has maintained a high level of security for several years, but now the situation is fragile and volatile. As part of the growing challenges Jerusalem faces, primarily the increased threat along Israel's northern frontier, including from Syria and Iran, the Israeli top defense official is seeking an increase in the country's defense budget that would amount up to $1.36 billion, which is equal to about 1.16 billion euros over the course of the next 3 years. Lieberman asserted that as part of a fundamental change in the security situation across the region, which requires an increase in the country's defense budget, Israel's primary goal is to prevent the next war. The defense minister detailed 3 new challenges the Jewish state is facing, including a massive Russian presence in Syria, advanced precision weapons introduced in the area with both Hezbollah and other elements trying to attain these weapons, and a dramatic acceleration in the Iranian military industry, which is a source of concern not just for Israel, but also for the Arab League, primarily Saudi Arabia. That said, Minister Lieberman emphasized that the IDF will deal with every challenge under any circumstance. Meanwhile, in Israel's northern neighbor Lebanon, reports indicate that the Iranian proxy Hezbollah has raised its level of alert for an imminent confrontation with Israel, that despite the organization's declared assessment that Israel would not launch a war against it in the near future. The reports further revealed that Hezbollah's leadership had instructed its operatives to halt all transfers of weapons from Iran via Syria to Lebanon. The reports insist that Hezbollah's directives stem from 2 main reasons, including its growing need of accurate and long-range missiles in Syria, where it is currently embroiled in the civil war on behalf of the Assad regime against Sunni Muslim jihadists and rebels. The second reason is Hezbollah's significant amounts of high-precision weapons already stored in Lebanon, which the Iranian-backed militia believes provides it with the necessary firepower to deter Israel from initiating a war. Meanwhile, Hezbollah's leader Sheikh Hassan Nasrallah declared in a televised statement that the biggest threat to the security and stability in Lebanon was and still is Israel. In what appeared to be an effort by Nasrallah to promote his organization's legitimacy in Lebanon, the Iranian-backed leader emphasized that Hezbollah was the spine of Lebanon's resistance against the Jewish state.
أكبر تهديد للأمن والاستقرار في لبنان كان وما زال الاحتلال الإسرائيلي وما زال أكبر تهديد للأمن والاستقرار. أهم عامل في تحرير لبنان من الاحتلال وتحقيق الأمن والاستقرار كان هو المقاومة كجزء من المعادلة الذهبية، والعمود الفقري في المقاومة هو حزب الله.
In an effort to reassure the residents of Lebanon, Nasrallah emphasized that while the country should be ready for war, it is unlikely that it will indeed break out because Israel knows that the price of such a move would exert from it a heavy toll. The comments made by Nasrallah echoed those of Joseph Aoun, commander-in-chief of the Lebanese armed forces, who said he ordered his troops to be on full alert to address the threat of the Israeli enemy. General Aoun said his decision stems from Israel's apparent belligerent intentions toward Lebanon. Meanwhile, in the Egyptian capital of Cairo, the Arab League convened an emergency meeting of Arab foreign ministers, during which they criticized both the Islamic Republic of Iran and its Lebanese proxy Hezbollah, warning that they would not stand by in the face of Iranian interference in Arab affairs. Among the main topics of discussion was an incident in which Iranian-backed Houthi rebels fired a ballistic missile from Yemen towards Saudi Arabia. The attack was attributed to Iran's aggressive regional interference, with Arab League officials accusing the Islamic Republic of providing its proxies with sophisticated arms to target its Arab rivals.
فالصاروخ الذي استهدف الرياض إيراني الصنع، وهو رسالة إيرانية واضحة في عدائيتها. لم يفلح المسؤولون الإيرانيون حتى في تجميلها، لأن العواصم العربية تقع في مرمى صواريخ طهران الباليستية. إنها رسالة غير مقبولة شكلا أو مضمونا. إن الدول العربية تعتز بسيادتها، وهي قادرة على الدفاع عن استقرارها وأمنها، ولن تقبل أبدا أن تعيش رهينة الخوف أو تحت ظل الترهيب.
إن المملكة العربية السعودية لن تقف مكتفتي الأيادي أمام هذا العدوان السافر، ولن تتوانى عن الدفاع عن أمنها الوطني للحفاظ على أمن وسلامة شعبها. ونحن جميعا مطلوبين بتحمل مسؤوليتنا القومية وصيانة أمن واستقرار دولنا للتصدي لهذه السياسات الإيرانية العدوانية تجاهنا.
Hezbollah was not spared of its affiliation to Iran's regional aggressions, with Arab foreign ministers accusing the Lebanese militia of orchestrating weapons transfers to Yemen and assisting Houthi rebels in firing the Iranian-made ballistic missile to the Saudi capital Riyadh. In response to the allegations leveled at Hezbollah, Lebanon's President Michel Aoun appeared to defend the Iranian-backed militia, which is part of Beirut's coalition government, declaring Hezbollah as necessary to resist Israel. The backing of the Lebanese president came after Hezbollah leader Sheikh Hassan Nasrallah vehemently rejected the allegations, claiming it was part of Saudi's ongoing rhetoric against his organization for its affiliation with Iran.
أنا أؤكد لهم وفي نوع يتأكدوا، لا صواريخ باليستية ولا أسلحة متطورة ولا مسدس اسمعوا مني للعرب. أنا أريد أن أنفي بشكل رسمي، نحن لم نرسل سلاحا إلى اليمن، ولم نرسل سلاحا إلى البحرين، ولم نرسل سلاحا إلى الكويت. مش هاي معركة طويلة عريضة بالعراق، لم نرسل سلاحا إلى العراق.
Regional tensions have risen in recent weeks between Sunni monarchy Saudi Arabia and Shiite Islamist Iran. Thank you for watching us. Praying for the peace of Israel and the peace of Jerusalem.